and welcome to the Conspiracy Café. We are your hosts, BJ.
I'm Rolfie.
And I'm Sophia.
We hope you enjoy this podcast episode. This is, in fact, our very first one, not including the past, 10 tries. But we hope that you really find this entertaining and you continue to maybe listen to these episodes.
Yes, definitely bear with us because it is our first one, but just a quick trigger warning, there will be some gory and gruesome details that we will put in. We will tell you before we tell you about these things, though.
Mm-hmm. And that being said, on the menu today, we have
a Russian conspiracy from the 50s, and the chef's special is dyaltov pass.
Before we start, I just want to give a round of applause to these two because we finally got it right. We finally got it right. Finally.
Yay.
So on the note of dyaltov pass, we are basically going to get as much information we can out to you to just get some more knowledge into people who have never heard this conspiracy before. So basically, let's start at the very beginning of this entire kind of thing. There were about 11 people on this group that decided, hey, we're all college students and we are skiers and hikers. So they decided to basically hike up this really tall mountain.
Bad choice.
Why not? Yeah, you're college students. Do what you want. So
wasn't it 10 people?
10 people went there. That's the thing. So one either I think was disapproved of going up there along with the group, or they got sick before, prior to actually being able to go up there. So one stayed behind, and these the other 10 continued their routes up that hill. So in 1959, this is where this entire story takes place. A group was formed for a skiing expedition across the northern Urals in Russia, Soviet Union at the time. According to prosecutor Templov, documents that were found in the tent of the expedition suggest that the expedition was named for the 21st Congress of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union and was possibly dispatched by a local organization.
Wait, all right, Fink, can you say this in a way that normal people are going to understand?
Okay, basically, this was the Soviet Union at the time. Kind of the Cold War was going on, and they're just kind of staying true, loyal to their country during the time. So Igor Deltov, the leader of this group, he was 23. He was the leader who assembled a group of 9 others for the trip, most of whom were fellow students and peers at the university that they went to. Each member of the group, which consisted of 8 men and 2 women, they were all experienced grade 2 hikers. They had ski and tour experiences. They would be receiving a grade 3 certification upon their return. So this was a big deal. They knew what they were doing. They knew exactly what was going to happen. They're like, okay, we get up, we get down, and we're gonna succeed. So at the time, this was the highest certification available in the Soviet Union and required candidates to traverse 300 kilometers or 190 miles. The route was designed by Deltov's group to reach the far northern regions of this mountain called Oblast, and the upper streams of Lozva River. The route was approved by the city route commission. This was a division of the Committee of Physical Culture and Sport, and it confirmed the group of 10 people on January 8th, 1959. Goal... Go ahead.
Okay. So that was a lot of wordy information that I did not understand.
I know, because I'm about to summarize it.
Yeah, put it in normal people words.
I know. So I need to read it, though. I need to gather information. So the goal of the expedition was to reach, a peak, a mountain 10 kilometers north of the site where the incident occurred. So the route undertaken in February was estimated as a Category 3, the most difficult time to traverse. So basically, again, as I said, they were really excited about this hiking trip, and they decided that they were going to hike this really tall mountain. It was, everything seemed fine, but they were doing this during winter in very harsh climates that they were not prepared for. But being those kind of well-educated hikers and skiers, they assumed that they could get through it. Continuing, Teeth, go ahead.
And on January 23rd in 1959, the dyaltov group was issued their route book, which was listing their course.
So at the time, the City Committee of Physical Culture and Sport listed approval for 11 people. The 11th person listed was Semyon, who is previously certified to go with another expedition of similar difficulty. So the Dyaltov group left the city. On the same day, they received the route book.
What's a route book?
A route book? It like the book, like almost like a map. That's basically giving.
I assume so.
Where they're gonna go.
Wasn't sure.
So now we're gonna get into the part where they're having fun. They're doing a hike that is assumed that they're going to trek up there and be back in a few days. Before leaving, Dyaltov had agreed he would send a telegram to their sports club as soon as the group returned to Versailles. It was expected that this would happen no later than the 12th of February. But Dyaltov had told Yudin, before he departed from the group, that he expected it to be longer. So when the 12th passed, no messages had been received. There was no immediate reaction, as delays of a few days were common with such expeditions. On the 20th of February, the travelers' relatives demanded a rescue operation, and the head of the institute sent the first rescue groups, consisting of volunteer students and teachers. Later, the army and police forces became involved, with planes and helicopters ordered to join the operation. So this thing is getting pretty big. They're kind of looking for these hikers, wondering where could they possibly be.
Yeah, it's really starting to go down here.
Right, it is. But I feel like this was partially expected, that it would go down, get kind of crazy, because this was a very intense hike, and they were going in the winter. And so I feel like
harsh
this was
climate
partially
conditions.
expected.
100%.
Yeah, exactly. And so this was partially expected, but it did get very, very big, very, very
and especially like if you have obviously you probably have parents. they get very worried about well-being anyways. Like you can just do like anything and they'll get worried in about 5 minutes. So,
for sure.
Once they didn't arrive back in like a few weeks, a week after they said that they'd be back, it started like speculation began, and it was like, okay, maybe we should start looking. So on the 26th of February, 6 days after the search party warrant had been kind of put in, the searchers found the group's abandoned and badly damaged tent on Kolat. We'll bring up a photo of that. So the campsite baffled the search party, and Mikhail, the student who found the tent, said the tent was half torn down and covered with snow. So if you actually look at photos online of this tent, you'll definitely see that it seems like
totally torn up
there for a while. It was empty, and all the group's belongings and shoes had been left behind.
Right, like shoes too. Like all of a sudden, just like you find a tent that is ripped open and it has all their stuff inside. Like who in their right mind would go outside in negative 30-degree weather?
Yeah,
when 30 degrees Celsius, negative 30 degrees Celsius weather, and like without their shoes and their stuff.
It's
absolutely
completely out of the question. Nobody would do that. Like no one sane would do that. You can
something was amiss.
Something
sure.
was definitely wrong.
They saw that. Yeah.
And it was sort of like, okay, weird, but we don't know what could have caused it, right? So investigators said the tent had been cut open from the inside, which means that it couldn't have been a bear just trying to get in. It was definitely something that scared them or frightened them or made them so anxious that they
said, they're like, we gotta go.
We don't have time to open the zipper. We do not have to figure out how to open the zipper correctly, because tents, they take like about a few seconds to figure out how to open the zipper. They took a knife to it. They cut it open. So
Obviously, we're in a rush. Something definitely spooked them, you know?
yeah,
Yeah, like spooked them enough to be like, no, we gotta go now.
Yeah, without like clothes in this like freezing weather.
yeah, we're about to explain. We're about to get to the
Right.
part that they're
Yeah,
not wearing anything. 9 sets of footprints left by people wearing only socks or a single shoe or even barefoot. Remember, negative 30 degrees Celsius.
Yeah, like this is
What's that
cold.
Fahrenheit?
Like
Fahrenheit,
negative
negative
50.
25. No, negative like 22.
All right.
Not that cold, but pretty cold. Leading barefoot could be followed, leading down to the edge of a nearby wood on the opposite side of the pass. So the opposite way where they were going, like they were expected to go. So kind of weird. So after 500 meters, these tracks were covered with snow. At the forest's edge, under a large Siberian pine, the searchers found the visible remains of a small fire. There were the first 2 bodies. Those of hold on, give me 1 second because we want to figure out how to actually pronounce these people's names. We don't want to just,
Completely butcher it.
Yeah, so we're going, the first one was
Krivonishenko.
He or she, I don't know who it was along with Doroshenko, and they were shoeless and dressed only in underwear. The branches on the tree were broken up to 5 meters high, suggesting that one of the skiers had climbed up to look for something, perhaps a camp, or maybe get away from something. We're not entirely
Right, something that was on the ground. So that's where like a lot of people were suspecting it was a bear. But as we get on farther in this,
realize
we'll see why not.
Yeah.
Not be there.
We'll definitely debunk that right quick.
Really.
Really.
As you could say, Thanos' snap, we could do it faster than that. Between the pine and the camp, the searchers found 3 more corpses. So we already are up to 5 corpses out of the 10. So you have Dyaltov, the leader, I can never say this, Kolmogorova, and Slobodin, who died in poses, suggesting that they were attempting to return to the tent. So
that also means that they died very quickly if they were still in poses. Right?
Yeah, it was definitely a fast death, not slow.
Yeah, so they were only found a few hundred meters away from the tree that the first 2 bodies were found. But we'll continue on and figure out what kind of, like, a few interesting things. Finding the remaining 4 travelers took more than 2 months. So we're in around end of April, like almost, May. They were finally found on the 4th of May under 4 meters of snow in a ravine 75 meters further into the woods from the pine tree. 3 of the 4 were better dressed than the others, and there were signs that some clothing of those who had died first had been removed for use by the others.
Right, so that means that they were walking all together and slowly parts of their group started to die.
Yeah.
Right, but others survived and kept walking. So they were so scared that they left them behind and just took their clothes.
Which is definitely suspicious, if you ask me. I don't know what's going on here.
It's also kind of sad if you think about it, because remember, these are all students in college. They probably
absolutely, and they knew each other well enough to like go on a hiking trip together.
Yeah. It's basically like waiting, because again, remember, they were going to get like tier 3 in hiking. Like they were working together. Right? So it's basically like almost like all 3 of us, we've known, let's say we've known each other for years or on end. And we're all getting ready to, get like degrees in something that we've all worked very hard for. And then you see 2 of us die.
Which 2 though?
Wow. Hey.
Who's the weakest? Huh?
Me.
You.
Yeah, you.
Dubinina was wearing Krivoshenko's burned torn trousers and her left foot and shin were wrapped in a torn jacket. So here we get to the part where things get a little bit weirder. We're sort of we know we've seen all the bodies. We found all the bodies. It might be, at first you might think, okay, natural causes or maybe just animals, but here we go. A legal inquest started immediately after the first 5 bodies were
Oh,
found.
wait, real quick.
Okay.
This will get a little bit gory as we're talking about their bodies. So just
we're talking
putting
about
that out there.
Medical examination found no injuries that might have led to their deaths, and it was concluded that they all died of hypothermia. Absolutely untrue, but we're going to get to that. Slobodan had a small crack in his skull, but it was not thought to be a fatal wound. An examination of the 4 bodies found in May shifted the narrative of the incident completely. 3 of the hikers had fatal injuries. TB had major skull damage, and Dubinina and Zolotrov had major chest fractures. According to
so these are like major bones that are broken. And like they were.
It says right here, according to Boris, the force required to cause such damage would have been extremely high, comparable to that of a car crash.
Boris.
Right, and obviously they were not in a car crash, so that leaves the what?
Yeah, I've been in a car in a different country where we accidentally hit somebody on the road. It's not pretty. It's not pretty.
It's not pretty.
So considering that a car crash, like hard car crash, like 2 collisions, man, like both going at like 50 miles per hour. Ouch, because they're probably alive at the time, still alive while this was happening.
Right, it does say that later on that they were, that the suggestions were that they got these injuries while they were still alive and died later.
Another weird thing is, considering that these are a car crash, right? Like you're expecting like everything's wrong, but notably the bodies had no external wounds associated with the bone fractures, as if they had been subjected to a high level of pressure.
Definitely really odd.
Yeah, for real.
Like, how would you hurt your bones so badly but have nothing done like on the outside
that shows that you have those injuries?
Yeah, that is weird for sure.
It's almost like it's like almost getting in a car crash, like a huge car crash, and then coming out looking like nothing happened.
Yeah,
but all of your bones are still broken.
Yeah, everything's broken. Everything hurts. You could die.
You probably will die.
Most likely.
Right, exactly.
Like these people did. So all 4 bodies found at the bottom of the creek in a running stream of water had soft tissue damage to their head and face. For example, Dubinina was missing her tongue, eyes, part of the lips, as well as facial tissue and a fragment of skull bone, while Zolotrov and his had his eyeballs missing and Alexander his eyebrows.
So they're just parts of, especially eyebrows. Like, how do you just get your eyebrows missing? You know, like that's.
We were talking about how some
stuff.
people think that this conspiracy is the Yeti, and we're like, yeah. So the Yeti basically just he killed them all, and then he had like a shaver, and it's like, you know what? You have a unibrow. Let's fix that. Let's just get rid of it.
That's kind of ugly.
That.
Ew. Like I want to make you pretty before you die. So let me just
totally. Right.
So the forensic expert performing the post-mortem examination judged that these injuries happened post-mortem, so before they died, due to the location of the bodies in a stream. So these people, their tongue, their eyeballs, and eyebrows don't really matter. Everybody does that even daily, but lips, tongue, eyes, eyeballs, like they were taken out of their bodies, their living bodies, before they even passed away. The pain,
right, like
excruciating pain.
Excruciating.
Nice.
Excruciating.
There's initial speculation that the indigenous Maasai people, reindeer herders local to the area, had attacked and murdered the group for encroaching upon their lands. Several Maasai were interrogated. Also, I just want to make it clear, it's really weird how they were interrogated. Like the fact that these people, Russians have guts, man. Like they went up to these people that they thought like brutally murdered these, 10 hikers, and they went, "Hey, so did you murder these people?" And they go, "No." And they're like, "Okay, have a nice day, bye."
and I'm pretty sure talking to murderers is like a typical Russian Tuesday.
Again, yeah, literally a typical Tuesday for them. Apologies to Russian listeners, we're just joking, but
are we though?
Are we?
Are we really?
Especially like the USSR time and like reign of communism.
I mean, capitalism isn't that much better, but that's a discussion
No,
for
but-
another day.
Uh-huh.
Jokes, crap. Okay. Several men inside were interrogated, but the investigation indicated that the nature of the deaths did not support this hypothesis. Only the hikers' footprints were visible, and they showed no sign of hand-to-hand struggle. So, also, I want to make it clear. I think this says it in a few minutes that the injuries are they're so harsh that a human could not possibly create these injuries.
Yeah.
Although temperature was very low, around -20 to -30 degrees Celsius, also for us Americans, because we're stupid, -13 to -22 degrees Fahrenheit, with a storm blowing, the dead were only partially dressed. Some had only one shoe, while others only wore socks. Some were found wrapped in snips of ripped clothes that seemed to have been cut from those who already died. Teeth, go ahead.
And I was doing a bit of research earlier, and I stumbled across like kind of a scientific-ish article that was talking about how cold weather for an extremely long time can mess with your like neurological flow, make you a little crazy. So
and let's get into the conspiracies a little bit, because that's the entire point of this podcast.
Yeah.
Actually, that's one of them was Yetis. We hit on that a little bit.
Right, one of them was bears too.
Yeah, one of them was bears, and the other one of the like many, was that they went insane and they killed each other. Which, again, that's why I wanted to mention that none of these bodies were human caused. That's what we know.
Right, like it's just you can't do that.
So,
I mean, while it's very possible that they could have, fought each other, they did not give.
There was
no
hand-to-hand combat like it mentioned before.
100%.
There was something other than that going on.
So these people, their tongue, their eyeballs, and eyebrows don't really matter. Everybody does that even daily, but lips, tongue, eyes, eyeballs, like they were taken out of their bodies, their living bodies, before they even passed away. The pain,
right, like
excruciating pain.
Excruciating.
Nice vocabulary.
Excruciating.
Like crazy pain.
See, I can be smart too, Fink.
Think the twink. There's initial speculation that the indigenous Maasai people, reindeer herders local to the area, had attacked and murdered the group for encroaching upon their lands. Several Maasai were interrogated. Also, I just want to make it clear, it's really weird how they were interrogated. Like the fact that these people, Russians have guts, man. Like they went up to these people that they thought like brutally murdered these 10 hikers, and they went, "Hey, so did you murder these people?" And they go, "No." And they're like, "Okay, have a nice day, bye."
and I'm pretty sure
okay.
talking to murderers is like a typical Russian Tuesday.
Again, yeah, literally,
Right.
it's a typical Tuesday for them. Apologies to Russian listeners. We're just joking, but
Are we though?
are we?
Are we really?
Especially like the USSR time and like reign of
38
communism.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, capitalism isn't that much better, but that's a discussion for another day. Jokes, crap. Okay. So several men inside were interrogated, but the investigation indicated that the nature of the deaths did not support this hypothesis. Only the hikers' footprints were visible, and they showed no sign. They showed no sign of hand-to-hand struggle. So, also, I want to make it clear. I think this says it in a few minutes. That the injuries are they're so harsh that a human could not possibly create these injuries.
Yeah.
Right, like these are not, and I'm sure that we get to this in a minute, but I just wanted to put this out there. Well, no, we'll get to this in a minute. Never mind.
Okay. Although temperature was very low, around -20 to -30 degrees Celsius, also for us Americans, because we're stupid, -13 to -22 degrees Fahrenheit, with a storm blowing, the dead were only partially dressed. Some had only one shoe, while others only wore socks. Some were found wrapped in snips of ripped clothes that seemed to have been cut from those who already died. Okay, Teeth, go ahead.
And I was doing a bit of research earlier in the past few days, and I stumbled across like kind of a scientific-ish article that was talking about how cold weather for an extremely long time can mess with your like neurological flow, make you a little crazy. So
another, and let's get into the conspiracies a little bit because that's the entire point of this podcast.
Yeah.
Actually, that's one of them was Yetis. We hit on that a little bit.
Right, one of them was bears too.
Yeah, one of them was bears, and the other one of the like many, was that they went insane and they killed each other. Which, again, that's why I wanted to mention that none of these bodies were human caused. That's what we know.
Right, like it's just you can't do that.
So,
I mean, while it's very possible that they could have, fought each other, they did not give.
There was no
blow.
hand-to-hand combat like it mentioned before.
100%.
There was something other than that going on.
Right, which we'll get into in just a minute.
So, journalists reporting on the available parts of the inquest file claim that it states. So I want to, before we get into this, here we go. This is where things start to get a little bit crazier. And
really crazy.
Really crazy.
Make it, I just want to make a point that all of this is true, and it was kept under wraps for a little bit because we'll get into that. But
it was kept under wraps for like 40 years.
Yeah, it was kept for decades. Just kind of.
Well, you guys are so smart. I don't even know what half of those words mean.
All right.
Decade is 10 years, T.
Okay. I'm sorry, Sophia. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I was just telling you. You asked.
Okay, here we go. So, 6 of the group members died of hypothermia and 3 of fatal injuries. We already knew that. But there were no indications of other people nearby on Kolot, apart from the 9 travelers. So that was the mountain. Nobody was up there. The tent had been
as far as they know.
Yes.
But we will get into that in a minute.
The tent had been ripped open from within. The victims had died 6 to 8 hours after the last meal.
So not starvation.
Yeah. Traces from the camp showed that all group members left the campsite of their own accord on foot. So they all decided to do it. Like, it was on there. Nobody was dragging them out of there. They just decided to do it.
Great.
Here we go. Some levels of radiation were found on one victim's clothing.
And so this is where a lot of people are like, okay, so it's aliens because there were radiation, right? That's the first thing that comes to your mind.
Talked about the 33rd frame yet?
No, we're about to talk about
Okay.
I'm gonna get that into that when we're talking about the most possible.
Right, but
I was a little confused.
Real, there was radiation. So how does radiation happen when you're on the top of the mountain?
Yeah.
I was a little honestly a bit confused when I first read this, because if they were all fairly close together, at least in groups, then why was there only radiation on one victim's clothes?
Yeah, so we start to question things because everything seems a little bit okay, something was chasing them maybe, or maybe they just went a little bit insane. But the fact that you get this changes everything. Radiation does not just happen when somebody goes crazy. I mean, it could cause somebody to go crazy. But
Absolutely.
radiation does not just appear out of nowhere, and somebody
it has to be
put radiation into you, right? So we're getting to that point where this is where the big conspiracy comes in, the one that all of us side with.
Radiation is not a natural thing that you can just have happen to you in nature. It's technically.
Well, I mean, unless you're out in the sun and you are out in the sun for days at a time.
It's cold.
You're not gonna get radiation. Number one.
Right, exactly.
Number 2, you're not gonna get radiation with the fact that you're up high. You wouldn't have I don't know who this was, whose jacket this was, or whatever clothing. but it still took them weeks in these bodies. Radiation.
Right, exactly. So the radiation was still on it. Plus, if it was a natural cause, wouldn't it have gotten to at least multiple of them?
So, okay, basically, we're getting close to the point where, we're finishing this up. So, I don't think we're gonna need part 2 because we can finish this real quick. So basically, I just want to make it clear the last big thing that we're talking about is because we can't show anything. If you go on Google and you search dyaltov pass 33rd frame, these people, these hikers, they had cameras because
Right.
they exist, and they're good. They're useful. So the last photo that was taken about really late at night, early in the morning, kind of same thing. Was
that is not the same thing.
It was a bright light. And
it's not just a bright light. It looks kind of
in the way of it.
Sus.
Yeah,
it looks kind of weird. It's not just a circular bright light all of a sudden.
Yeah, and there was also a noise.
Yeah, so we're assuming, okay, radiation, that's all the information we have. Basically, we're gonna continue on to more information in a second, but basically, what all of us assume, we hear theories about this thing about this story, Yetis, UFOs, all this kind of stuff. But then, if you really think about it, this was during the Cold War. So,
right, and so then comes
if you can continue real quick, I'm gonna grab something, but I'll be
absolutely. Okay, yeah, so basically that gives the idea, okay, so Cold War, okay, so nuclear bombs produce radiation, and so there comes the point, and they're also can produce light, right? So they're kind of solves them, and that's why we get behind all of them. And so, Teeth, go ahead with some points.
And of course, they were super shady about the funerals and the cover-up and the official cause of death. All of that was super shady. The Russian government, as you guys mentioned before, kept it under wraps for years.
Right, it was decades. That seems like a very obvious thing to come to because it was during the Cold War, right?
And so secret and all this kind of stuff, really weird.
Right, it's very obvious. It's very obvious. I feel to me that it was the Russian government that covered it up.
Yeah,
they're not that they were not supposed to be up there doing the bombs. And
they actually interviewed a few people that were in that town nearby, and they all had agreed, lots of them said they saw the light on that mountain. It's kind of just we've considered this solved, but entirely it's not really solved, and that's why we are making this podcast, because we really want to figure out how can we figure out things, what to decide on. And that brings us almost to our closing. But yeah, this was a great first episode. I really liked.
Absolutely.
If you would like to add anything, go ahead.
Yes, please. We love your feedback and what you think it was, because this is obviously just our opinion.
But we will be spreading a little bit more of how you can contact us very soon. For now, you'll just probably be seeing this on Spotify or YouTube, whatever we decide in the end. But yeah, thank you so much for listening.
Yep, we hope you enjoyed it.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that's basically it. I don't know how to close this out because we haven't really planned that, but
okay.
Well,
how about just abruptly, in the middle of a sentence?
Yeah,
right. We hope you enjoyed the cafe and all of that.
All of that jazz.
100% if this is put on YouTube, because I know for a fact that it will. In the comments, please do give us feedback. We would love to hear your idea. Yeah. Also, possibly this top secret thing that we're talking about might be posted in the description. Depends.
Depends.
And basically, you can give us more ideas in there. We are looking for more people to actually work with us.
In this. We have in the description. We should probably put some of the roles we have open currently.
We have crap. I don't have the thing here. Oh, it's right open. Okay,
so we can.
Yeah, we basically if you any of you are interested, obviously this is just like a fun job. There's no money.
No, my headphones just broke. This is a tragedy.
Oh no.
Oh crap. So we do need script checkers. So basically revising scripts, making sure that we have trigger warnings, all that kind of stuff, figuring out kind of making sure.
Also, we don't have a script yet, as you could probably tell.
Yeah, because we
did not have a script for this
right now.
Not quite yet.
The beginning
PowerPoint
took a
2 seconds, and then it was
right. Yeah. We scripted the beginning because it took us at least 5 tries to get the beginning. But obviously, our outro we should have thought about.
So for now, we don't really have one.
If we have seasons, we're gonna have super real. You're gonna see so much of this one episode. I swear.
Yeah.
We're looking for script checkers, editors, stories, conspiracy finders, and guest stars. If you're interested in being in the podcast, which I bet 90% of you are, because every time I talk to one of you, everyone, I swear, no one is interested in editing or looking for stories. It's always
we need editing. We're desperate.
If you know tech, please.
So anyways, it's basically if you're interested in that, let us know. And we're really excited about continuing this every week on Friday.
Yes. And
should we give them a sneak peek of what we're doing next time?
Yes. But we don't have anything.
Okay, but just real quick, next time it won't be this crazy. You can expect a little bit more format.
Who knows?
Yeah,
who knows? Yeah, but we'll try.
This might be.
We're trying.
If you expect this episode to be posted at this time every day, it will not. We recorded this earlier because we were expecting a guest star, but they
unfortunately could not make it due to an emergency.
Yeah, but we will see them at some point later.
Hopefully, for sure.
So every Friday, this is what the Fridays when we record it. Saturdays might be when they're actually posted because
Fridays, Saturdays.
I am not looking forward to hearing my own voice.
Neither am I.
That's okay.
Me
neither. That's all right.
But
so let's wrap up.
1 minute and 30 seconds. Okay.
Okay. Well, we will see you, people. No, we won't see you. We won't hear you. We won't hear you either. Bye.
Goodbye. We'll talk to y'all later. Bye.
Goodbye. We
have
a podcast and that was fun. So see you all next week. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.